What do you say, everybody? Welcome to the Cubs Baseball Channel. As you can see, I got my buddy Naren Desai with me, and that means it's one of our mailbag shows. We love to talk to you guys, see you in the comments section, and talk Cubs baseball on a daily basis. Last night didn't go well in Houston. We're going to talk about this Cubs pitching staff, what they might need to do. Also, you got to look at this Tucker Smith trade, right? Is Cam Smith going to make it the Cam Smith trade? Is this something that the Cubs are going to be haunted by? Because when I saw him bust that 3-run homer, I was like, oh boy, this could this could come back to haunt us. Or maybe it was worth it. You know, if you win the World Series, who cares, right? That and more right here on the Cubs Baseball Channel. Playoff odds, though, still looking really good for the Cubs. Let's get this show started. I ask you guys to do this on a daily basis. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, thumbs up. Remind you that the Cardinals didn't score for the final 22 innings of the series. Just to throw that out there. But I love this show. I love when Naren comes on because I've gotten to know him through our community, through the comment section. He's a really smart baseball guy. And we try to do this on at least a couple times a month. And let's start right here. First off, good to see you. Cubs need some starting pitching. I saw some things against the Cardinals I didn't like the first two games of the series. Didn't like some of the starts that we got against the Mariners. And then last night, and as much as I like Cade Horton, not good enough.
Yeah, when we talked about it, over the offseason, but also throughout the season, when would these starting pitchers that are having success early in cooler weather, first few times through the league, would they last, right? And Boyd's lasted and showed his back. That's great. But some of these guys are, kind of showing, they're getting exposed. And we talked about also the Cubs are built for 162. We said they weren't. They're built for like 100, 115. So I think that's what we need. We need starting pitching. And this is the time for Jed to show what he can do, be a wheeler and dealer and figure out how to maximize our assets. Because now the window is now. I think the window is now. These years build. Doesn't mean you're going to win the World Series this year, but you have to have a good October run so you can build into it for next year and the year after.
Well, I mean, and I agree. And I mean, you look at the rotation right now. Shota came back. He was Shota. And the Cubs were, like they always are, very conservative, but it didn't matter, right? I mean, they pulled him out after 5 innings. The guy hadn't pitched since May, but, he didn't hurt his arm, and he came in, and he was great. Matthew Boyd has been amazing. I mean, who would have ever thought that this guy would be this good? I just worry about, long-term health with those two guys. Jameson Taillon, it seems like he's kind of coming back down to earth. Cade Horton is a rookie. You and I both know it takes time to get good as a rookie. I keep him in the rotation. And then what is it? Colin Ray, Ben Brown back to the minor leagues. The Cubs are going to have to make some moves. And that's what all the experts are saying. You know that behind the scenes they're working the phones. But they're going to have to add to this rotation. They might have to add 2 to the rotation if they really want to contend for a World Series. And even if they go out and they add 2 to the rotation and they get a bullpen piece and they get a third baseman, they still might not have enough to get past some of these teams in the National League. And then we're going to talk about the Cam Smith trade later on, but you mortgage your future in some of these deals. So you don't want to go out there and give up all the stuff that you have, hoping that you're going to win and then not win, and then all of a sudden, have an organization that's not really healthy. But let's start with pitching and guys that could be available. And you keep hearing 2 names from the Marlins and 2 names from the Diamondbacks, and start with Edward Cabrera and Sandy Alcantara. Any thoughts on either of these guys?
I mean, here's the thing that we talked a little bit before the show is the Cubs look kind of desperate for starting pitching right now. So the question is, do we match up? Do they want any of our prospects? how much, what does the front office think about these guys in terms of, how they project? I'm for both of them. I think that'd be great, but I think the Cubs are right now at a position of weakness, so they have to create some kind of trading edge. So I'd question if that kind of deal is going to happen before the deadline. But the Cubs need help now. They need bridge guys, and that's like something I've been like commenting and mentioning on X is just we need some bridge pitchers, and then it doesn't mean that they're going to be the guys that are going to like start game one in October, but they need some guys that can, kind of bridge us to the deadline, but then maybe bridge us for, Brown, Boyd, Horton to save some innings and then bring them back, August 15th and get tuned up for the last 40, 45 games. But it's tight, man. The Brewers, checked the standings this morning. The Brewers are 2 games behind us. They're 10 over 500. They lost Devin Williams and Willie Adames, and it's like they're inevitable. It's like they always find a way. So this is a pretty tight race. We can't rest. And like Tyone and things like that, I worry about him. He seems to be really good against the bottom half of the league or bottom third of the league, but he gets exposed in summers and gives up way too many home runs.
The home runs are the thing that you worry about the most. And I mean, why not, right? I mean, think about the last time that Ben Brown pitched. It was like a hit parade. And some of these lineups, like the Cardinals lineup, they don't scare you at all. Good pitching gets them out. But they're cranking home runs. The Cubs helped Cal Riley become the first catcher and switch hitter to 30 home runs before the All-Star break in baseball history. You're right. The home runs are ridiculous. But when I look at this rotation, honestly, in a way, I'm a little surprised that if you would have said, hey, Justin Steele's going to be out and Shota's going to miss, 2 months, that we would still be in a spot where we are right now, and that's in first place. So, I mean, I'm not complaining, I guess, but I'm looking at it like, like we talked about before the show. It's like the Cubs might need a bridge, right? Jordan Wicks, has been in the minor leagues. Ben Brown has been inconsistent in the major leagues. He's back there now. So you got 2 guys, not having Javier Assad obviously hurts because he's so important. I mean, just quietly, I thought the year, 23, I thought that he was the pitching MVP. I mean, every time you need him to start, you need him to relieve, he'd just come in and do it. It wasn't always pretty, but he got the job done. Not having him hurts. Obviously not having Steele is a major loss. And the team's still in first place.
Yeah, I mean, A+. I mean, we're on we hit the midway point. We're on a 96 win pace. A+ on that. I think, again, you have to give the flowers to the front office and the organization in terms of what we're good at. We're good at guys like Flexen and Pomeraz and Ray, these major league talents that need to be tweaked, need to be game planned. They're really good at that, right? Look at Boyd. They identified Boyd as a guy that is on the up after 6 starts last year with Cleveland, and they grabbed him. And I thought it was a little bit of an overpay, but that's fine. If they know what they're doing, they should know what they're doing. Be smarter than me, the fan, and that's great. But yeah, I think A+ in terms of where we're at. But now we got to stay there. And now we got to, who knows? Like PCA is having such a special year. Tucker obviously is in his final year. A lot of guys are having good years in the bullpen, but in the rotation, in the lineup, everything is going well. They gotta lean in. The thing is, they got to figure out a way to create some kind of advantage with these trading partners in terms of Cubs have deep pockets, right? Cubs have, flexibility. They, where can they create some kind of advantage with some of these teams that have, something to give up? And then they have also other things, like some teams like, hey, we could use a controllable pitcher that can eat some innings for us, like with Ray and Wicks and things like that. Where's the advantage, right? And then, teams that have really bad outfield production in their major league team, but also in the minors, right? So where's the advantage? Like, where can we match up with those teams? It doesn't always have to be, a kind of, here's 3 prospects, give us your rental. That doesn't really work anymore. If you look at like Manny Machado trades and a lot of these trades, these rental trades, you don't really get much as you used to. So they're going to have to find a way to figure out how to match up with teams and try to get a pitcher that they think has like maybe on the like in the current numbers, they look good, but the Cubs think that there's a 10-15% uptick with their internal tweaking and improvements.
Yeah, I mean, they have to be looking at the rotation and spinning the numbers to themselves and go, hey, we're not like Drew Pomeranz, right? I mean, is he just going to go the whole season without giving up any runs? You know what I mean? Like, some of the guys they have in the bullpen that are having great years, they're so under where their average is, and and sometimes you stay down there, and then sometimes you end up right around what your career average is, right? But I look at the situation that the Cubs have. At, like you said, they have some chips that they can throw out there, right? Which is the theme of the show. Get to the table and play some chips. This Cam Smith trade, which I want to eventually get into, but it illustrates to me the dangers that you have with a front office that is not extended, that's fighting for an extension. Maybe they have one. Who knows? Maybe Tom said, hey, you're going to get an extension. Don't worry about it. Or maybe not. Jim Hendry was fired and kept working 1 year. The year before Theo came in. He knew. They told him he was done. He's such a good guy. He just stayed there and worked up until the end of the season, right? So, I mean, behind the scenes, a lot of things can happen. Tom Ricketts, I know him. He's a good guy. And I think he's an honest guy. And I think that if he's going to extend the Jed, that he probably is giving him that indication. And if he isn't saying anything, then that kind of tells you that if you're Jed, that you better figure it out. This Cam Smith trade could come back and really haunt the Cubs. The last thing I kind of want to get into, and I guess I'll change gears, is that the other two guys that you keep hearing, Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen of the Diamondbacks, and then Alcantara and Cabrera of the Marlins, who knows who they end up getting. But these are the four guys that you keep kind of hearing about. And both of these teams are small market teams that have kept themselves relevant by making trades and getting your best players, right? They're not going to make the mistake of doing trades like the Cubs did with some of those deals that they made for Chris Bryant. Didn't get anything out of them. Anthony Rizzo, and some of these trades you could still put up in the air. But the only trade that worked out really was Pete Crow Armstrong for Javi Baez. The rest of these deals, and Yu Darvish for Owen Casey, I think it potentially could turn out to be a great trade for the Cubs. But just kind of looking at last night's game, looking at the numbers, and transitioning a little bit, there's a danger in this long term. Cam Smith wouldn't have played in the big leagues for the Cubs this year. I don't think. Houston gets him, and right away they put him in the outfield. And sometimes, and I've kept track of his season, right? He's having a respectable rookie season. I mean, it isn't easy for him. I mean, look, he was in college baseball last year, right? He's got a handful of minor league games. The Astros bring him up. And I know he took Horton deep last night, whatever. I mean, the guy looks like, and they think that he's potentially a guy that could hit 50 or 60 home runs one day in his career. What I worry about is if you don't sign Tucker, all of a sudden that this trade, when Tucker goes to the Yankees or Tucker goes to the Giants or the Dodgers or somewhere else, and then every time you turn around, you see Cam Smith, and he's hitting 30, 40, or 50 home runs. And Isaac Paredes is playing pretty good too. And you look at those guys, they lose Bregman, they lose Tucker, and they're a game better than the Cubs right now, which is amazing to me.
Yeah, I mean, the Houston's they know how to put together a roster. I mean, they had a lot of turnover. I mean, Christian Walker's over at first base. Their outfield's not great. They got like Taylor Trammell. I mean, I've actually tracked him as a prospect for years. Like he's undervalued. You can't find a home. I mean, he's out there, and you've got all these other guys. I mean, they don't look like a great team. But look at a guy like Jeremy Pena. he was like league average hitter, good defense for like 3 years. Now he's breaking out. So, Cam Smith, again, like, is he gonna be great? Right. Is he gonna stay on this heater he's on a little bit, right now? I think the big calculation with the Cubs was that they were sold on Shaw at third. They didn't think Cam was going to play third. He's going to end up in the outfield. And a right-handed outfielder are, not as unique as, other positions, right? And again, they're trying to get an extension, right? So if they don't sign Tucker, they get a draft pick comp. Who knows who that draft pick will be? It could be a Cam Smith comp. It could be somebody good. Who knows, right? So that's, who knows, right? So it doesn't matter. It matters about winning this year to me. And the fact that Jed needed an extension to prove that he could build a winner. And he had to prove to Tom that, look, the reason we didn't win the last 2 years is because you won't let me go and give a $400 million contract to one of these guys. And look, we got Tucker. You see the difference he makes. He makes Seiya better. He makes Hap better. He makes gives space for prospects like PCA to break out. It just changes the lineup. So I think he's doing it to prove a point a little bit. And I think that it's okay. You can always replace prospects. There's a very few prospects that come through that are irreplaceable. And I think, a guy like PCA is kind of irreplaceable because he's so unique. But, who knew when he was going to break out? And I think Shaw's going to break out eventually too. He's got a unique swing. He's working on a toe tap. Guys from CHGO or tweeting out his toe tap that he's working on. Looks a little bit different. He's going to have to develop it. It's hard, right? And there's so many. Look at how many guys the Yankees traded to get Soto for a year, lost them, and they're still in first place too, right? So I'm for winning in a window, not necessarily go for broke for 1 year, but I'm definitely for winning in a window, in a 3-year to 5-year window.
Yeah, I hope so. The Yankees spend a lot more money than, most teams too. But I don't know. I feel like this, like if you're going to make deals, and sometimes one of my biggest complaints about this front office is, you don't have a third baseman. So you're going to trade 2 of your third base options to get another outfielder when you have an outfielder. The whole Kyle Tucker, and I've loved him. Look, I hope they re-sign him. They have to re-sign him. Right? They just have to. And if they don't, and they don't win the World Series this year, we're going to be talking about this next year, and we're not going to be so happy because you're not going to have one of the best players in baseball, right?
Who knows, right?
But it's like, okay, so you need a third baseman. You trade those guys to get a third baseman in Isaac Paredes, but then you trade the third baseman to the Astros. Right? Then you got another third baseman that you drafted. You trade him too, even though they put him in the outfield. He could play third.
Yeah, but they were sold on Shaw. That's the thing. They thought Shaw was the third baseman. So even if you had Paredes, he'd be blocked. But you don't want to block Shaw if you think, and Paredes didn't fit our ball.
Well, if Paredes was with the Cubs, he'd be playing third base right now.
Yeah, but he wouldn't have been as good in Wrigley as he is in Houston with the short porch. That was the view, right? You look at his hit chart. He hit all these 318-foot homers in Tampa, pulling down the line. I think that they proved that he's slow. There's a lot of other factors, right? Like, he fits what they're doing in Houston because they have Yordan, right? They have Yordan. They have Altuve. They have other players, right? So he just fits them better. We didn't have. Paredes would have been batting 5th or 6th in our lineup, or 4th or 5th. I don't think he'd be as good, and we wouldn't have Tucker. So I just think it's a totally different comparison, even though the numbers look great for Paredes. I just think that they saw that, like, look, his swing is not going to play in Chicago down the line and in cold weather, right? So yeah, right now he'd be fine, but you can lose a season. You can lose the whole season in April and May if his production's weak.
Yeah, well, he didn't do great as a Cub, so I'm not sitting here saying that he's like the savior, but just as far as options, like. The option was Matt Shaw, who never played third base, knowing that rookies struggle, right? 18 games, minor leagues, back. He's better now. You can see him growing. I don't know how good he's going to be, but I believe in him. Then John Birdie and Brujan.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, is that
Where's the depth guy that can go
right?
up and down? Yeah, like that was the issue, right? They didn't get enough depth. Bruhan and Birdie were not the guys you need at third base. They could have gotten somebody else. They could have traded for somebody else that doesn't make a lot of money. That's buried in a depth chart, whatever, right? Like there's a couple of guys that I'm like eyeing, fake GMing on rosters, but doesn't mean the Cubs like them, right? Doesn't mean that team will trade them, right? So it's really up to the front office to like fill the hole. There's a couple of guys that like make sense. There's super U guys that can play third, play all over, and spell Dansby and Nico when they need them. They can actually play the outfield too. I mean, you need those guys. So I'd like to see those types of moves, but they're just hard to make. Here we are thinking like, oh, why don't you want Triantos? Why don't you want this guy, that guy? I mean, it's just hard, right? Like it's so much harder than it looks like on paper. And people on their side are in love with this guy, or they don't like our prospects, and we think our prospects are better. I mean, it's a totally opaque market.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see like what happens too when I look at like Triantos hasn't had a great year. Owen Casey to me is the future for you in right field if you don't sign Tucker. And my fear is the other teams in the league are looking at Owen Casey and they're probably like me. I think the guy's going to be a tremendous player. I believe in him, and you guys know that. I talk about him all the time, but I believed in Pete Crow Armstrong too. And he's better than I thought he was going to be. And I thought he was going to be damn good, right? So I don't know what the deal's going to look like or if they keep him. I think you got to keep him if you don't think you're going to sign Tucker or you're not sure. But then again, that's your best trade piece, right? I mean, if I'm the Marlins, if I'm the Diamondbacks.
Let's say they don't sign Tucker, right? Let's say they don't re-sign Tucker. He wants too much money, and someone blows us out of the water, right? And you put Owen Casey in right field next year with a platoon, maybe with Alcantara, if we still have Alcantara, right? So let's say there's a platoon or whatever, right? And he struggles for whatever 400 at bats, like he hits home runs, but he strikes out a lot. But that $40 million goes to two pitchers, right? And then Steele comes back, whatever, right? Like you could still be a good team because PCA can bat second in that scenario because he's proven that he can bat second, right? I mean, it's not like to me, it's not the end of the world, and we're getting into next year, but you can't repeat what we have this year, right? You can't assume anything, right? PCA is having a great year. Would he do that without a Tucker in the lineup, right? Would Bush be able to bat fourth in that scenario behind Seiya, and then and then Casey can bat sixth or seventh, right? I just don't know. Maybe Shaw is batting fifth by then because he's proven a year later, right? You don't know what these guys project as, right? So yeah, I mean that scenario, you save money and you can spend it on pitching, and the pitching's better, right? Maybe you have pitching that's more consistent, and you don't need 6 runs a game that we were getting up until May 15th, right? So yeah, I mean, it just depends, right? So I'm fine with either scenario. You can win either way. It's just a question of what you want to project. I just think Tucker's just an amazing guy, and Cam Smith, like he might be great too, but I think maybe he's just better in Houston than he would be with us.
We'll never know,
right?
Because but he's a first round pick. I can't sit here and tell you that I projected Cam Smith to be this good. I did. I thought he was a good player, but I didn't see him enough. I mean, we didn't have him that long. I mean, there's definitely some stuff that he does well, but he's gotten so much better. He looks so much more big league now with Houston. But I'm just saying this: like, if you're not gonna sign Tucker, then you got to be really careful with Owen Casey, or you better get a whole lot back for him. And you think that we need 2 starting pitchers. I don't know how you make 2 deals to get like Merrill Kelly or Zach Gallen away from the Diamondbacks, Sandy Alcantara, plus you got to pay him, or Edwin Cabrera. Alcantara all of a sudden starting to look like a Cy Young Award winner again. Maybe not. He's not there yet, but you're starting to see it coming back from Tommy John surgery. He may be the guy you make the trade for because the upside's there. Huge upside.
He's coming back from TJ. So the first 10, 12 starts to me are rehab starts at the major league level. My other issue with Alcantara is he going to be on a limit? Like first year back, is he going to be able to pitch the 6th and 7th month of the year, plus the rehab he did to get ready for the season? So that's a question to me. And then also the Marlins are going to ask for Jefferson Rojas and Owen Casey, and plus we got to pay him, right? It's not a rental. I mean, to me, like, you don't play. It's not a good deal because they have time on their side, right? They can say, we'll just hold them. We'll hold them for the highest bidder. Like the Yankees might say, we'll pay him. We'll do it, and we'll give you our top prospect. They've got some guy, Spencer. I don't think he would probably fit into their timeline or their depth chart in terms of position. So it just depends, right? Like it depends on who's hungry, right? So to me, there are players that are available that you could get that could be bridge guys, right? So like right now, Charlie Morton's on a heater. Is Charlie Morton going to last the whole year? Probably not, right? But he's on a heater right now. He struggled in April. They put him in the bullpen. Now he's on a heater, right? The Orioles, he's not a long-term asset for the Orioles, right? So what would it take to get him? Very little, right? It should. And the Orioles are eating it, right? They're like, I saw a clip of the game yesterday. It looked overcast, but it was empty, for a Friday night in summer, right? So they're eating it right now. So it just depends, right? Like, and you could combine other players on their payroll that they don't, again, are not long-term assets, are all rentals, that the Cubs can just pay it, right? It's just money, right? It's just money. Oh, here's Connor Noland. Oh, here's Luke Little, like whatever, right? We don't need those guys, right? They're not going to help us. Yeah, they're good depth guys, but they're not going to help us win a World Series, right? So those are the types of guys that like we should look at, like a Walker Buehler. It's buy low, right? Hey, we'll take him, but if you take Justin Turner, right? Because we don't want him either, right? So they're done too. They're done. Now the D-backs have to throw in the towel, right? I don't know when they're going to throw in the towel, right? Corbin Carroll went on the IL again. So who knows, right? Are they going to throw in, like, again, if they throw in the towel, they're not going to draw in the summer. So it's up to them, how they want to manage that, right? On how and like their GM and their owner, are like had quotes in the media this week saying like, people, all the vultures are circling. So they don't sound like they're throwing in the towel yet. So it just depends on how that stuff plays out, right? And then like a team like the Rockies, like Germain Marquez, again, TJ recovery, he's pitching better. He's still like in that rehab mode. So again, are those guys going to be promising for August, September, October? Probably not, but they could bridge you until the end of July and see if you can get a deadline deal, like for a Lugo or a Gallen or some of these other guys, and who's going to fall out of the race. So that's where I'm kind of GMing in terms of like where I look at who's pitching and who's available. But again, they have to figure out a way to bridge this roster for the next 40 games for the last 40 games in October.
Yeah, well, at least you got Imanaga back, Boyd pitching the way he is, and I think that that the starting pitching will level itself back out, even though it's had a rough go of it. Final thing I wanted to bring up was Fangraphs. I love the Fangraphs. This is the playoff odds. I put the Central right there in the middle. I left the Dodgers on there, though. They have a 23.7% chance to win the World Series, right? Wow, that's a pretty good chance to win the World Series. But I guess when you spend $1 billion on your roster, you're going to have some good players. But Cubs with a 4.8% chance to win the World Series, 81.6% chance to make the playoffs, and a 57.8% chance to win the division at 48-34. Right, and a 2-game lead over the Brewers. The Brewers are coming on strong. I'm still not buying into Milwaukee, but just from a percentage standpoint, hey, like not too shabby. There's ups and downs throughout the course of the season, but when I look at the Cubs lineup and I look at the roster, I'm pretty confident that they're going to be okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be right there, through the rest of the next, 80 games. My question is, the lineup, I worry a little bit about Dansby batting 4th or 5th. I don't care about his long-term history. I care about his more short-term history. I worry about the catching position in terms of regression with like Reese and Carson, Kelly. These guys are doing great, but like, Carson's come back. Reese is on a heater. We need Amaya back, hopefully, and then hopefully he's good because those obliques, can screw up a season. So yeah, there's some concerns there, but we're starting to enter in these hot months, the attrition of pitching in baseball. You almost can't predict who's going to be good from August 15th to the end of October. It's almost unpredictable. The Cubs don't have to be better than the Dodgers. They just have to play better than the Dodgers for 9 days, right? During a series. They don't have to be better than them. They just have to play better than them for 9 days. And that's exactly how the playoffs are now. It's about getting on a heater, playing your best baseball, and guys like stepping up, guys that see pitches that are tough to barrel up, that smack those balls into the opposite way for a single when it's the appropriate time. So I'm excited about the summer. This has been a great year. This has been a great first half. Now it's time for Jed to kind of put this all together, finish that roster, and give us a chance. Give us a chance to, make some noise.
All right, prediction time. And again, thank you guys for hanging out with us. Always great when Naren swings by to talk Cubs baseball, and a different type of show when we get together. It's more of a talk show format. And I love it. It's fun. And you guys in the comment section, thank you for being part of what we do every day. And I'm still trying to figure out when I can get to Wrigley. I want to do that. I want to have Naren there. Some of our other friends come by and hang out. I'd love to get Jody Davis to come do some shows with me, my buddy. So we'll see. It's just a matter of trying to navigate my schedule to get there, but it would be awesome to meet you guys, maybe a weekend in Wrigley. Prediction time. Do you think the Cubs will trade for a third baseman?
No.
No. Okay, so you don't think it'll happen?
Yeah, maybe some bench guys, but not an everyday third baseman. No.
Right. So they're not going to go get Eugenio Suarez.
Yeah, I don't see it. I just think that they just have too big of a need in pitching. So I mean, yeah, you could see something crazy happen where they just match up, but I just think they just need pitching so much more. There's always that opportunity where like, hey, we're just going to go with some veteran, lower cost veteran innings guys, and then they go and say we're going to lean into hitting, and then we're just going to see where the chips fall. We're going to hit our way into and bullpen our way into an October matchup. I just think they're going to go for pitching. I think they're going to go for frontline starters, but there is always that zig and zag kind of approach to front offices where they say, hey, we're just going to go with some veteran guys and see what happens, and then we're going to make it a 4-inning game in the playoffs, and bring in Horton and Brown to be bridge guys, and in Wicks and some of these other maybe Wiggins, like who knows, right? They might try that, like they could just piece it together, but it's very tough to win that way. You can win a 3-game series, a 5-game series like that. Very tough to win those 7-game series like that.
Yep, I think that there's a possibility just because you just keep hearing the rumblings of something, and I listen to the press conferences when I can, when they post them, and then I interpret them. Man, I've been watching these press conferences forever, and it just feels like Craig Counsell never really. When you hear him talk about Pete Crow Armstrong, it's different than he was talking about Pete Crow Armstrong 2 years ago. He talks about Shaw like that. Hey, we're not really expecting a whole lot. Hey, he's doing the, but he's not doing this. We'd like to see, it's like with Pete had the mental mistake, and Craig's understand. I got his back. We know it's a mistake. We all have them at our job, and it sucked, and I hated it for Hollywood Pete. Then he came back and he's fine, right? I just get the vibe that the reason that he's talking like that is because behind the scenes they're looking to see if they could make a deal there. Now, you're right. Starting pitching is the most important thing that they need, right? And I feel like Jackson Wiggins could be in their bullpen this year. It would be such a Cardinals move to have him in the bullpen and him become like some kind of like a star, like a 1-inning star. And I could see that with him because the guy throws hard. I don't know if he's going to be a starter, but I definitely think that he's going to be in the big leagues sooner than later. And I think other teams see that as well. You're going to have to give up something a lot just because of the competition to get starting pitching. So I guess the question to me is, do you think the Cubs will get a 1 or a 2 or a 3 in a rotation
I think
starter?
you're
Is
going
it
to
going
get
to be
a 3.
somebody that's in the back, another one of these guys where you're like,
I think you're going to see something like a 2, like a 2. I think like a Mitch Keller type. I think a controllable pitcher that they think they can get more out of, because it's Mitch Keller doesn't strike out a lot of guys. He's got really good innings, really good peripherals. I mean, like good but not great. But I think like kind of like another Tyone, right? Like he's good, but we think we can make him better, right? Like he's got another 8 to 12, 18%, and he's controlled. He's under 20 million, like something like that. They have bad outfield production. They could use an Alcantara. They could use a Triantos. They're not a threat to us in the division, so it's not going to come back and burn us. Maybe they'll burn us in 2029, but what about right now, right? Like not in the next 3 years, right? Those guys are going to take a while to develop and establish themselves. So, I think that someone like that I could see, and then and I could see like another like veteran guy. Who knows? And it just depends, right? Depends on who falls out of the race in the next next 35 days, right? It's very hard to predict. And then, front office, like, oh, we don't want to like throw in the towel, our fan base, whatever, right? So look at the Rays. I mean, the Rays, man, think if you're in the front, like I always feel this way, but look at the Rays. They're a game out of first place. Think if you have a payroll $100 million more than the Rays. Like, how embarrassed are you?
well, yeah, I saw that too. And they're playing in a minor league stadium.
Yeah.
It's just so different, like the Cubs are run completely different than the White Sox, and they're in the same city. Completely different than the Rays. Like Cam Smith wouldn't have seen a major league field with the Cubs this year. I mean, or if he did, it would be like way down the line. He wouldn't have started the season with a big league jersey on. He just wouldn't have, So, and part of it's because we're a big market team. I mean, like the expectations are high, the pressure's high. It's not an easy place to go. I mean, when you struggle, you hear about it. But when you're successful, we have the best fans in the world. And I don't doubt that at all. I mean, I've been a Cubs fan pretty much my entire life, right? But it takes a special guy to go to Wrigley Field and have success, and
40,000 fans on a Wednesday afternoon or a Wednesday night, Tuesday night, like it's rocking. And you need to be a special type of player to perform in those circumstances, and with the media and the fan base. And if you listen to if you're on social media, you're going to hear it. So the team, fans are going to love you if you perform. So, and this is a great place to play because of just the environment. It's very different than other places.
No, it's awesome. The day games and all that stuff. It's been fun watching the guys from Japan come over and star. I love that. I love the culture that Japanese. I've talked about it on the channel. I just love it. I love the Seiya Suzuki's. I love the Shota Imanaga's. It's fun watching the guys from Japan, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if the Cubs don't add some more guys from Japan in the offseason. But a lot of fun, a lot of fun when you talk about this roster and what it could look like in the future. Right now, the Cubs are in first place. We'll see if they make any moves. But it would be nice to get a good start today in this game and kind of get back on track again. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Game, they burned Flexen, so Rhea, but then you have the rest of the bullpen's kind of rested. So we'll be seeing. It'll be interesting to see how they navigate it, right? They also have to factor in tomorrow. They got an off day on Monday, so today's a big one. What they're going to do, in terms of hopefully Ray can go give you 5, right? And then you have the rest of the bullpen. But
Ray's the type. He's the type of guy who, when you least expect him to be terrible, he's great, right? But when you start thinking he's going to be great, he's terrible. He's just consistently inconsistent to me.
Like when he's like that guy when he was on the Brewers. Or like you look at the box score, you're like, how are they getting this kind of production out of him, right?
Yeah, right.
And then it comes to us, and it's like, oh, the melting pot or the bright lights of Chicago, and it's like it's too much for him, right? It's kind of crazy when you see that, right? Where these guys, like, they put up really good numbers on Tampa or Miami, or Cleveland's, less pressure, less media, and then they, go to the bright lights of a big market. It's like totally different. So we'll see. Yeah, it's a big one. We got to get it. I mean, it'd be great to win these next two. Definitely got to get a split and then come home. I think I'm going to go to the game next week with my nephews, and it's going to be cool. It's going to be a big one. Cleveland's got a weaker offense, so I think Horton will line up better with him against them next week. So I think you still have a few more starts from him. But yeah, hopefully, we're going to hear a move soon. Again, these bridge guys could really help in the short term.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, guys, you get in the comment section. Tell us what you think. It was a lot of fun talking with Naren today. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. I ask you to do that on a daily basis, and we'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Go Cubs.